This is WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul.
Good morning, Savannah. How are you on this fine first day of the month of March? And you know what March is. March is the maybe the best month in Savannah. I mean, it's such a great month. We got St. Patty's Day coming up, but we also have, of course, the magnificent month of March music in Savannah. And our guests today are part of that whole magnificent March music thing. We have Kane Lanahan, founder and CEO of the Stopover Music Festival, and Tony Pizzo, executive director of Ships of the Sea Maritime Museum, which is going to be one of the venues of Stopover. So, welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Good. How are y'all doing? Good. Doing okay today?
We're doing great.
I hope to be better.
a little pollen in the air, but that's March, right?
Listen, yeah, I'm with you on that. I have some serious whole pollen and issues myself, so I understand where you're coming from on that, Kane, for sure. All right, it's looking great. You got a great lineup, and hopefully I'm going to pronounce some of these names because honestly, I'm not familiar, and that's part of what's good about Stopover. There may be some people that you may not have ever heard of, as well as some that you certainly have. But you guys have got Kishi Bashi, is that correct?
Yep, that's how you pronounce it.
Lee Fields and the Expressions. A lot of people are going to know him and them. And Julianne Baker, Louis Del Mar, who I had never heard of, and I spoke with you, and I went online and listened to some of that. That's good stuff. That's very good stuff. Also, I came across Atlanta Royale that I really, really enjoyed. On a video sound, and then Bones of J.R. Jones I've never heard of, but I really like that too. That was kind of an Americana thing. Yeah. So the show is when?
The festival starts on Thursday, March 9th, and runs through Saturday night, March 11th.
Excellent. Okay. And as always, you're going to have a number of venues.
Yes, we have 12 different venues across the historic district, some that are participating every day and others that we just use selectively for what we call our secret shows. Okay,
and while I'm thinking about it too, the website is?
SavannahStopover.com.
Okay, and you've got a great layout there that shows the artists, the lineups, the venues. You can click on the artist and go to some YouTube stuff and some music file stuff and
there's a full Spotify playlist that has songs from all 85 bands.
85 bands.
Yes, that's right.
Man. Yes, musical march indeed. And so this is again the idea, because again for me, when I was living here the first time in Savannah, I don't think you guys were going yet. And I didn't realize it. And I just sort of assumed that this was actually a stopover on the way to Florida. And really, it, as much as anything, is a stopover on the way to Austin.
Correct. It was the idea was conceived for bands that are traveling basically down I-95 and across I-10 headed to South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, which is always the weekend following Savannah Stopover.
Okay. Wow. That's some good music. 7th year, correct?
Correct.
7th year. That's great. All right. Is there anything, I talked with you and you, when you were kind of forced, when I forced you, this was for Savannah Magazine, which, by the way, I guess will be perhaps out today, possibly. If not today, then very soon on the stands. And I have a little piece on Stopover in that, a very brief Q&A with Kane, and you mentioned Julianne Baker as one of the many talented musicians who's going to be in Stopover, as one that you think is kind of a must-see and a really great new up-and-coming musician.
Yes, she's really had a remarkable few years. She's only 21 years old, and she's a singer-songwriter, and she put out an album in 2015 called Sprained Ankle, which made a lot of critics' best of list. She's a tiny little powerhouse, and it's just her and a guitar for the most part.
Yeah.
But don't let that fool you, because she just commands a room and often has a good part of the audience in tears. So we're going to have some Kleenex at Trinity United Church for her performance.
Trinity United Church is where she's going to perform, which will be a great.
Yeah, the acoustics in that room are just amazing, and I think she's just really going to fill the space.
Yeah. You also mentioned Louis Del Mar, which again, after you mentioning that, I went and listened to and was really impressed. And it's actually a duo.
It's a duo, but they are coming with a full band, and they are from Rockaway Beach, Queens, and have just sort of exploded on the scene in the last year. They were one of the top heat seeker bands on Billboard, and one of their songs made it to #1 on Hype Machine, which is one of the big trend indicating websites that spotlight new music, and we're really thrilled to have them come. They're playing a lot of much bigger festivals this year, so it's a little bit of a coup that we snagged them for Savannah Stopover.
All right. Good work. A new venue. El Rocco.
Oh,
yes.
El Rocco is new to Savannah, relatively new, and new for us, and we're thrilled to be using it. We've worked with Wes Daniel for years, who owned Hangfire, and Hangfire was at Savannah Stopover, was one of our venues with Hangfire for the first 5 years, and then last year neither venue was open. El Rocco was just opening, so we're really excited to have them on board. It's a beautiful room and a fun room for music, and we're going to put some really eclectic acts in there.
Okay, good. Also, Abe's on Lincoln is kind of a one of your mainstay venues, and this year as the press, is that what you call it, the press?
It's really the press bar. We're not using it for music this year. We have used it the past few years for our secret shows, and we've just what we love about Abe's is how small it is and intimate, but we just couldn't fit enough people in there. So we feed all of the bands every night during Stopover. Brian Husky from the Gaslight Group does an amazing job for us and cooks homemade food for all the bands, and that happens right across the street from Abe, so that's sort of where the bands and press are kind of mingling. So we just sort of use Abe's as sort of the official press bar for the festival.
Excellent. Okay, let me just interject here, which I neglected to do at the very top, just so that everybody knows. This is, of course, Savannah Lexicon, and we are happy that you are tuning in to us today. We speak normally with all sorts of folks about, we do some things about public affairs, and we speak with social and cultural organizations. We have political folks in to talk about various issues and things, and sometimes we do shows kind of just for fun or just to make you aware of various cultural elements that are alive and well here in Savannah, Georgia, the most beautiful city in the nation. And today is one of those shows, as we are talking about Stopover Music Festival. And I don't know, so anything else new or different about this year's rendition? You've got the the difference with Abe's, of course, and you got El Rocco, but essentially it's the same kind of good multi-venue, eclectic musical offerings that you always have.
Yes, it's pretty much the same list of venues, with the exception of El Rocco, and that we're doing something a little bit different with secret shows this year. We do at least one secret show a day, and those are announced 1 hour ahead of performance time on Twitter. Okay. And then everybody sort of runs to get to the space, so it's really fun. But this year we're going to do them in different places. The The one on Thursday night, March 9th, is actually going to be in our ticketing headquarters right at 38 Barnard Street.
Right. Okay. 38 Barnard.
And then on Friday night, we're actually doing it in the garden at the Owens Thomas House, which I think is going to be really beautiful. We'll have the
Nice.
band up on the porch there. And then on Saturday, it's going to be at Amaya's house, which is the soup kitchen in the historic district. And we've actually partnered with them for all the secret shows. So we'll have donation bins at all 3 of those locations where people can drop off paper plates and cups and things that they could use at the soup kitchen. And then we're going to have some beer and wine at the Owens Thomas event, and any net proceeds from that will also benefit them. So we kind of
Nice.
rethought secret shows this year and are doing them a little bit differently.
Okay. Good. So there are some changes. But
Other than that, the changes for us are mainly it's 85, for the most part, 85 new bands, and every year it's starting over, and that's kind of what makes it fun. We do have a few returning artists, but for the most part, they're new to Stopover.
wow. Okay. So, I mean, new, fresh, different.
New, fresh music every year.
Having said that, though, and this is nice. I mean, you've also got some Savannah musicians. You've got Ambrose, for instance.
Yes, we have actually 13 Savannah local bands playing the festival this year, and we really look to pair them with the right touring bands and create lineups that help showcase their talent. So we have a lot of fun doing that, and there's also some great new local bands playing this year.
Okay. Some new local bands, some that I'm sure some of the listeners have heard of, including Ambrose, Clouds, and Satellites. One name that I cannot say on the radio as it is, but Damon and the Blank Kickers. And I know, I'm sorry, folks. Sounds a little silly, but hey.
We just call them Damon and the Kickers.
Okay, Damon and the Kickers. That works. That works. Garden Giant and others. So it's going to be some good local musicians too, and that's good to get them in on the act.
Yeah, and another a great local band that we're excited about is Lulu the Giant, who just did her album release show at Trinity United Church a few weeks ago, and she's going to come back and play Stopover, and she's a great not new talent in town, but this project and this album of hers is relatively new.
So really a wide range, right, of music. I mean,
very wide. Yeah, we have
everything
from a little bit of country, not your typical pop country, but what I call cool country, and Americana, folk, rock, punk, surf, hip hop. We have a band called A Tribe Called Red coming from Ottawa, Canada. That is, they call it trance EDM with some Native American powwow mixed in.
Okay, I can't. My brain doesn't
just
know how to calculate that. But okay.
They mix about 7 or 8 genres, and
Wow.
They're just incredible. They're going to have a Native American dancer with them, and
Wow.
they've really taken the world by storm. Partly because of all the focus on Native Canadian and American rights that are going on right now, and they really bring that indigenous music that's got a lot of percussion bass to it, and sort of have created a whole new genre.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
That's interesting.
Club One. It's not going to know what hit
Where
him.
else? Where else? I mean, Club One's the place to have something like that. I mean, that seems fitting. Excellent. You've been getting a lot of press, I think, and the concert, the festival's gotten a lot of press increasingly over the years, right?
Yeah, it's really been wonderful to see people embrace it. There's so many large, what we call field festivals out there. The Bonnaroos and the Coachellas and those type of things. And I think sort of the smaller, walkable, curated festival where you're not seeing the same headliners playing that you're seeing at all the big festivals, that there's a market for that, and people kind of miss the days, even with South by Southwest, when it was a little bit less about Kanye West and a little bit more about sort of discovery. So we've stayed pretty true to trying to focus on that.
I was looking over some of the venues. We can't really name them all, but Wild Wing Cafe at City Market, of course, the Jinx, Club One you mentioned, Congress Street Social Club. The Gray, has the Gray been?
Yeah, well, the
before?
Gray, yes, this will be the third year that we've actually done something outside in the yard at the Gray, and they have that beautiful space out there, and we actually do a concert series throughout the year with them. Each one benefits a local charity. But during Stopover, it's open to Stopover wristband holders, and there will be some availability for walk-ups. But Mashama Bailey cooks great barbecue lunch that afternoon, and we've got Kelsey Walden, who's a real rising young country artist, playing. And it's just one day, but it's a little bit of a departure. It's more of a kind of a cookout and lunch and kick back and have a cold beer and listen to some good country music.
Nice. That's a great place. I love the Gray. All right. I'll tell you what, we are going to take a short break in just a moment, and we will be back talking more about Stopover, and we'll even let Tony speak. We've not let Tony speak yet. Tony?
That's always a good choice.
No, you're going to have to speak.
I admire your good taste.
We are Savannah Lexicon. So if you're just joining us, again, Savannah Lexicon, we are certainly happy that you are listening to the show. We have today Kane Lanahan, founder, CEO of Stopover Music Festival, which begins a week from tomorrow and goes for 3 days. As always, and it's going to be a heck of a show. We've also got Tony Pizzo, and I promised Tony he would be able to speak now, since we went the whole first segment with Kane. We are going to have Kane and Tony talk a little more specifically about the Ships of the Sea Maritime Museum venue, where some of the acts are going to be performing in an all-ages shows, right, Tony?
Right.
Okay. And it's going to be where exactly at your facility?
It will be in the North Garden. The North Garden's broken up into two sections. There's kind of the North Garden proper, which is an open garden area with a maple grove and a pergola.
It's beautiful.
Then at the end, thank you. And then at the back end of the area is the assembly room, which is the concert space, which is roofed but open on one side.
Okay.
So it's kind of permeable, and has served as a good venue for concerts. I think we're probably your largest venue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
And it really fills a need in the market, because we don't have a venue that can do that kind of 600 to 800 standing room space. So not only is it probably the prettiest venue in Savannah,
no kidding.
It has also served and filled a real need in the market.
Good.
Yeah, that was part of the original planning, was to kind of fill that niche. And the nice thing about the North Garden is being composed of two parts. People can get out of the concert area if they'd like, wander around. The flow is very, very pleasant, I think, very humane.
Yeah. I'll tell you, that's just such a gorgeous. Let me just say, for the Ships of the Sea in general, it's a gorgeous facility, and the gardens out there. I kind of rediscovered them when I moved back not too long ago, and went out there and met Tony one day and looked around again, and the garden is open. As a general rule, the garden is open to the general public.
Yes, yeah,
right.
It's open 7 days a week. We're closed to the public on Monday, but if anybody wants to get into the museum, either a visitor or the staff, you have to go in through the garden, which is part of the plan. Mm-hmm. So if the gate is open, then it's the gardens are open to the public, both the older Scarborough Garden behind the museum and the North Garden. There's also free. Thank you for providing this opportunity.
Sure.
There's also free Wi-Fi in the gardens.
Right.
So
I
we
forgot. That's a
encourage
key
people
point.
to use this private garden as a kind of public garden.
Yeah.
And come in and sit down. We just got some tables and chairs, which are very attractive and comfortable in the North Garden, and encourage them to come in, sit down, play with their digital equipment, and just relax.
Okay. And that is all ages. Who again, I hate to ask who stands out. Everybody stands out, but just give us a few maybe names that.
Yeah. May I?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I mean, with Malice Towards None, I was really impressed by Kishi Bashi.
Right.
Who is a solo artist who plays violin primarily, but does a lot of work with live effects and looping.
And he is coming with his full band.
Oh, he is?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it'll be a full band performance. Yeah.
Great. Great. I was impressed. A wide range of emotional.
I
emotions
love
that he
calling him
portrays.
joyous. There's something about his music that's very joyous, and I
Yeah.
think he takes a classical instrument like the violin
Right.
and makes it relevant for all generations, but I think particularly for a younger generation.
Right. Nice.
Yeah. Well, Lee Fields and the Expressions. I mean, he's been
Wow.
he's been here a couple of times.
Yeah.
He actually played Savannah Music Festival
Okay,
in
great.
Yeah.
2013.
I think a lot of people will probably know that name for sure.
Yeah. The Saturday night, the Friday night lineup. There seemed to be kind of a theme going of soul and Withering Blues derivative
Ooh.
bands. I noticed
Ooh.
from the at least the YouTube videos. I mean, almost all of them had live horn sections.
Oh
which
man,
is a
I'm
real,
coming. I'm coming to the show.
I applaud your
When was that again?
courage. This is Friday night.
Oh man, I think I'm gonna be there
There's
Friday.
Ambrose, a local group. We always like local groups. Lawrence, Alana Royale, and Lee Fields and the Expressions. And,
night. Oh yeah.
I know it's hard to have a horn section, and so I really that's really interesting to hear live horns finally.
Well, live horns is a good thing.
Yeah, and then
we almost envisioned that whole lineup. We tried to create sort of what we're calling sort of the many facets of soul.
Okay.
So Ambrose, who's local, can throw some hip hop into the mix, but he also does, soul, and with this iteration of his band, he's done some great covers of like St. James Infirmary, from great old New Orleans song. And
Sure.
Lawrence is a new younger band from, they are all Berkeley music graduates, and they do have quite a horn section. Alana Royale has played the festival before and is sort of a fan favorite, and she's thrilled to be opening for Lee Fields. So
I
I
bet
think
she is.
we're going to shake some things up that night.
That's gonna be great. 'Cause
Yeah, I plan on that.
Tony's going to be there dancing with me.
I am too. Can I get up on stage and dance with them? Because I'm just going. I've not seen them live, but I've seen YouTube. I've seen videos live, and they put on a really good show. It looks like.
Yeah, Lee Fields, I think his first album came out in 1969.
Yep.
Sharon Jones, who sadly passed away this year, was one of his early backup singers. So he just put out a new album in 2016 called Special Night that I think took a lot of people by surprise. I mean, he's still just making amazing
Isn't that
music
great?
this far
Yeah.
into his career.
That's great. I love some of these old blues guys that still got the creative juices flowing.
yeah.
Excellent. Who else? Anybody else just really jump out at you? I mean, not that that's not enough.
Yeah, Bill Game looked really interesting. I was really impressed again by Lawrence. One of the things that I mean, for me, and I think by extension, for the city, that I really appreciate about Stopover is that that Kane is curating these bands. I mean, she's fulfilling the editing function or the filtration function, and and you get to be my age. I mean, it's hard to keep up, I really with all of this, and
I know what you mean.
So it's really great that you've got somebody who's very and a staff of people who are really familiar and involved and engaged with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just bringing people right to your doorstep. So it's something that we're very very pleased to participate in, because in a lot of ways it kind of lines up with one of our missions as a local museum and a local arts institution.
True.
So
true.
it's we like it. I think we've been with Stopover from the beginning. I know that.
Yeah, I think there was
that
one
Pokey
year we
Lafarge
took off, but we
show,
used to do shows in the Scarborough Garden, and we actually had War on Drugs play there in 2014, I believe.
Okay.
And some bands that have gone on to bigger fame. But when Tony told us about the new facility coming on board, we were like, let's see if we can't do this even bigger and better. And I loved hearing you talk about kind of how it helps you discover some new music, because that's part of, really one of the objectives. And, we often have people that say, oh, I don't know if I want to go. It's just for young people. And so we encourage everybody. It's really not. I mean, if you grew up loving soul and traditional rock and roll or whatever your, punk, your particular, sort of area of music that you love, there's bands today doing it, reinterpreting it, taking it to new levels. So, just if you come in with an open mind, I think you're going to be, always pleasantly surprised.
I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, even the younger people, you can't. I mean, there's just so much out there these days, because so many people have the technology to do their own thing, and you just have to kind of happen across them or have opportunities like this to discover them. And I can tell you too that you're absolutely right. When I'm going to the website and listening to some of these performers that you guys are having, there's some stuff that just I'm loving it.
I was just listening to Tim Darcy's new album, who's an artist that we have coming. He's the lead singer from a band called Ought from Canada. And I said, this has reminded me of like early Pink Floyd. So there's a lot. I hear a lot of, music from the 60s and 70s and things that we listen to. And we talked a little bit earlier about Louis Del Mar. He's actually going to be headlining at Ships of the Sea on Saturday night. It's almost a co-headline with a band called Caveman from Brooklyn, who played the festival back in 2013.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you were at that show at Locos. Oh my gosh. Get a high five for that.
See there.
And there were not a lot of people at that show. That was in the early days. And
wearing like leopard print, I think.
Exactly. And Caveman is a band who continues to grow, and they had a really great, critically acclaimed album that came out last year. There's not a lot of bands that we bring back, sort of after a 3 or 4 year hiatus, but this is one we really believe in, and we're thrilled to pair them with Louis Del Mar and put them on a much bigger stage than when they first came to Stopover.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I think it's also interesting that we're talking about older people, but to see or hear bands that are working, that are carrying forward a tradition or carrying forward even a tradition of experimentation, that when you've got the perspective of listening to music for 40 or 50 years, you can see that tradition expanding and and evolving, and at the same time, you can see what younger people are bringing to it.
Yeah, sure.
Which,
right.
only younger people can bring that to
That's
it.
true.
So it's really, I find it really, really interesting. I don't use the word exciting.
Yeah.
But, very, very interesting, and in a lot of ways, just very, very reinforcing. That's not the word either, but at any rate,
invigorating.
I like it.
Very briefly, nutshell, how did this idea come to your head?
It's actually a funny story. I was living in New York at the time, and my mother had moved here, and I had put some roots down here, but I was still mainly living in New York, and I was running a music blog called The Music File. And as I started spending time in Savannah, all the bands that we were writing about for the Music File were not playing in Savannah. And in 2010, we did a big event for the Music File in Austin at South by Southwest. And we created kind of an artist lounge where bands could come and hang out and eat and drink and have some fun. And we had about 10 or 15 bands play concerts, and there was just this sort of light bulb moment of why are we doing this in Austin? Like why don't we, all these bands have to travel to Austin? And we had seen a few examples of a few of them playing in Savannah the week before. So I just said, why don't we just do what we're doing here in Austin and move it to Savannah? Simple, stupid. It just kind of hit a couple of us. We were like, let's try it. And
excellent.
The first bands that we invited for 2011 were bands like Ben Solee and Country Mice and a few others, and we thought we might have 10 or 11, and we had 55 the first year. So we knew that the music community and the bands loved the idea. So and there's just a really quick aside. There's a great little story about Country Mice, who was the first band who signed up to play our event in Austin in 2010, the first band to commit to Savannah Stopover ever. They have since sort of broken up as a band. I believe they played the first 3 stopovers because I just sort of grandfathered them in because of all their support. And I got a text about 4 months ago from Jason Ruger, who's the lead singer, and he said, we missed Stopover and we're getting the band back together. Can we come? So
Great.
They are coming. They're working on practicing right now. They're getting the band back together, and
excellent.
They're doing it for us, which just almost brought me to tears. It's a great story.
Man, that is nice. I mean, that's you got to feel good about that. That's quite something. If you're a band and you're coming anywhere close, I mean, Savannah's not a bad place to, to come and visit, to hang out a little bit. I mean,
and honestly, because a lot of the bands have not been here before, particularly bands that are newer in their career, it's a great way to sort of seduce them. With the city, and then what we want is for them to come back. That every tour they play, they tell their management or whoever as they get bigger,
absolutely,
hey, I want to play Savannah.
Absolutely. And
so
I can
hopefully it has some residual benefits as well.
I'm sure it does. Savannah is definitely a seductive city. That's one good way to call it, for sure.
It's a great time of year too. I mean, it's
absolutely, you're right. Good point.
Time of year too.
I
remember one year, Tony, I think it was the year of the war on drugs, looking at the stage in the Scarborough Garden, and every azalea behind the stage was in full bloom, and it was just the pictures of that night. It's just surreal. You're like, this can't be real. This is just the perfect image of spring in the South.
And one of the interesting things about the Ships of the Sea as a venue is that it's such a kind of luxuriant setting.
Absolutely, gorgeous
and yet
place.
To have to have a rock band in there. There's a bit of a juxtaposition that is really I love juxtaposition, so it's great to have that opportunity.
Well, and I think it's great, and I also think the space is so beautiful and so well designed that I think people also respect it.
They do.
It's not. It's different than going into
that's a good point.
A dive bar.
Yeah, sure.
And,
one would hope so.
They kind of walk in, and everybody, particularly if they're seeing it for the first time, are just kind of blown away by the entrance to it and the maple grove, and it's just beautiful. We do set the space up a little bit differently than some other people who've used it. We set it up primarily as a standing room only venue, designed to look like a music club. So we have a very long bar on the west side of the assembly room space, and the stage is on the south side of the space. we do have some high top tables and some chairs for people who need a place to sit, but it's designed to feel like a rock club when you walk in. So, which I think is one of the great things about that space is that it can morph into different types of venues depending on how you set it up.
Yeah.
You know, for Savannah Music Festival, it's beautiful. It's set up
right, and
you know, seated with the stage, you know, on the west side, and it works perfectly that way as well.
The west side is the one open side that opens onto what we call the natural garden, which is a grassed and planted area. So you can see the bridge to the north. So it's it does. It's a large area, but depending on your focus, your focal point, it can become very, very, very different. We originally thought that people would prefer to have the stages facing on the wall side. But very rarely does anybody do that, you know. So that's been interesting. You know, see how different people use the space.
Wow. Short break, and don't go away. We have got more coming your way in celebration of the upcoming magnificent Stopover Music Festival. So hang in there with us. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Wayne Waters, and I host Savannah Lexicon on WRUULP 107.5 FM every Wednesday from 9 to 10. Savannah Lexicon is a conversation with representatives of this city's social, political, and cultural organizations. Give it a listen every Wednesday morning, 9 to 10, here on WRUULP 107.5 FM. And we are back this fine first day of March, musical March here in Savannah, Georgia. If you enjoy our programming on WRUULP, please support the station with a donation. As an individual, you can give any amount, become a basic station member, or become a serious fan of the station. To check out membership rates and to donate to the station, go to www.wruu.org/individual and select to donate monthly or subscribe to an annual membership. Again, to donate to the station, go to www.wruu.org/individual and select to donate monthly or subscribe to an annual membership. Thank you for listening to and supporting WRUULP. And here this morning on Savannah Lexicon, we have been talking about the upcoming Stopover Music Festival, which begins next week. Next week, you all know about Stopover, and we have been talking with Kane Lanahan, founder and CEO of Stopover Music Festival, and Tony Pizzo, Executive Director, Ships of the Sea Maritime Museum, a major venue for Stopover. I did want to mention a couple of things before we get back to talking with Tony. First off, today there is an Ogeechee Audubon field trip, just to make you aware of that, Onslow Island. It's a newly refurbished part of the Savannah Wildlife Refuge System, open only on Wednesdays. And for information about that, you can call 912-433-0457. Want you to know that tomorrow is the Savannah City Council meeting. 2 p.m. every other Thursday, tomorrow being one. And in the council chambers, second floor of City Hall. And it's your city council folks. So you are certainly able to go to the meetings and see how that all operates. I wanted to also do an update, and I apologize. I left the information actually at home, and I don't have it readily accessible at the time. But as you know, there was a great, shall we say, brouhaha about the Stage on Bay venue that was originally supposed to open earlier on West Bay, and there was a last-minute situation where there was some discord regarding the venue that was opening, a music club, an all ages music club that was set to open, and some of the surrounding neighbors raised some concerns. Now, that I think is going to be addressed again tomorrow. I'm looking at yesterday's paper for Tuesday, and it's the headline above the fold is "City Weighs Halt to West Bay Alcohol Licenses." The problem with Stage on Bay opening up was that they had every kind of permit they needed for the building. They'd already sunk a lot of money into it, but then they could not get their alcohol license because of the concerns of some of the neighbors. This is going to be apparently addressed again in the city council meeting tomorrow, and the headline, the lead under the headline, "Alderman wants to protect neighborhood. Stage on Bay may get okay after lawsuit threat." And so they have threatened to sue, and the city's attorney has already admitted on the record, really, it was reported earlier in the Savannah Morning News, at least, I will put it that way, that there was no legal, strictly speaking, legal reason to deny them an alcohol license. So the city is apparently reevaluating this, and it seems that there are indications that they may well be able to get their license, their alcohol license, and bring the shows back to Savannah, because they have been rescheduled to Hardyville, South Carolina, and I'm sorry I cannot remember the name of the club there that has agreed to take some of the performances that had already been lined up for Stage on Bay. So the performances are going to happen. The original lineup and performances that had been scheduled already, they're going to happen, whether it be in Hardyville, which there's also already been at least one, I believe, in Hardyville. And depending on what happens tomorrow with City Council and the alcohol license, I don't know whether that means that the shows will be coming back to Stage on Bay, or if these early shows are going to continue in Hardyville for the time being, or exactly what will come of that, of course. But we'll see, and we'll also make every effort to get Charlie Schmidt, the main man behind Stage on Bay, back here onto the program. We had him on just before he was due to have his first show, Marshall Tucker Band being the debut show that they had. So I think we can get Charlie back here after this is all kind of settled and have another talk with him and see what the future looks like with Stage on Bay. But again, that's one of the issues that's going to be addressed at tomorrow's City Council meeting. So whether for that reason or other reasons, I think for residents of the city to attend a city council meeting every once in a while, just to kind of see it in action, is always a good thing. Okay, let's see. A quick reminder, next week, Ryan McMakin's Savannah Music Festival. And the week after that, we've got the general chairman of St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee. And maybe, can't promise this yet, but hopefully a bagpiper. Now, you got to tune in for that, man. I mean, come on. How many times are you going to be able to hear a bagpiper on the radio show like this? So,
sound for a small room.
That's right. Absolutely. It may blow the roof off of this place, but don't be alarmed. But again, I have not confirmed that absolutely yet, so I can't make any promises right now. But I'm thinking hopefully we will be able to make that happen. Okay, so Tony Pizzo, back to you, my friend, and you're still doing good over there?
Yeah, I'm taking notes.
Okay, good. And Ships of the Sea Maritime Museum. So, again, one of the main venues, I think, did you guys say the largest venue maybe for Stopover?
Yeah,
for Stopover, the largest venue. We've talked about that. We'll circle back around to Stopover per se, but just for a minute, just to talk about the place itself. Again, I don't know. There are sometimes residents of a city, they kind of begin to take things for granted, and they just sort of almost forget certain places are even around because, they've been here so long and that sort of thing. The museum, although it was originally elsewhere, but in 1966, I think is when it opened.
Right, on River Street.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me?
On River Street.
On River Street, right. And now on MLK.
Right.
And the website is?
shipsofthesea.org.
All right, makes sense. And correct me if I'm saying anything wrong, 9 galleries of ship models, maritime paintings and artifacts that reflect, of course, Savannah's maritime heritage. In the beautiful William Scarborough House, which dates back
1819.
1819. So a beautiful historic home that the former home that the museum is in. And also, again, just the gardens are so nice. And tell us about this again, because, again, of course, Savannah's got all sorts of squares and beautiful spots, but really where you guys are located, Tony, there's not really so much that's right in that area.
Yeah, we're kind of out of the circuit.
Yeah, you're out of the main corridors where we have the squares and all of that sort of thing. So for people who are in that area or not far and just want to come and experience a beautiful little garden, it's open to the public.
Correct. It
has Wi-Fi, and it's just a gorgeous spot. And, of course, particularly this time of year and as we get into the spring and full force, what a nice spot there. Yeah,
the Scarborough Garden is there's a fairly good representation of azaleas in there. So during azalea season, it's very pleasant. That's preceded by hawthorn season, and after that, the mock orange pittosporum season. So it's
the what? Huh? If you say so.
Yeah. I just
it sounds good anyway.
But it's Mills Lane, the benefactor of the museum, wanted everything in the Scarborough Garden to be native to Georgia or would have been found in Georgia at the time the house was completed. So it's an excellent tool for gardeners, and we have floor plans available to people. We also have it up on our website. Our website is loaded pretty heavily with a lot of information. So
yes, it is. Yeah.
Encourage people to go there. Videos, a lot of information on the museum. The museum was it's on the National Register of Historic Places, as well as it's also a National Historic Landmark, the Scarborough House.
Right.
But it was also for about 90 years. It was the West Broad Street School. It was one of
I did not know that.
Savannah's so full of firsts. You don't really want to. We were certainly one of the first city-supported. Well, really, kind of the first city-supported school for African American students, so that really adds a kind of a community aspect to the museum itself. So we once again we have a exhibition on the West Broad Street School up on our website because we feel very much placed in that location, even though it's out of the kind of the historic district loop. The other interesting thing is that William Scarborough, being a an entrepreneur. Martin Luther King Boulevard, which was the former West Broad Street, was the kind of Fifth Avenue of Savannah, and and there were a number of very extravagant homes on MLK, but basically the Scarborough House is the only remaining home. But the entrepreneurs and cotton merchants lived along West Broad or MLK, so that they could watch their goods being transported from the river down to the railway depot, the present History Museum, and then back up to the river. So there was a gloat factor involved. So it's
nice place, nice spot, nice house. Very nice place. Now, you're also going to be a venue, again, for the Savannah Music Festival, and that's coming up before too long. What can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's a great festival.
Yes, it is.
We're really fortunate. I have a personal interest in music, but we've been very fortunate in being able to provide a venue for both our own concerts and serve as the venue for concerts for festivals. Yeah. That was part of the planning for the North Garden, was to kind of fill that niche of 500 seats or 750 standing room spots. So I think once we got the garden settled down, about the year after we completed it, because we completed it in June of I think it was 2014, 2013. A year after that, the festival came over and began programming. No. And you're
talking now about music. Savannah Music.
The Savannah Music Festival came over, and we have a really we've been fortunate in having a good relationship with all three festivals. I'll talk about AuraFest in a minute, but so they're once again very, very well organized. A spectacular range of performers and styles of music. I'm particularly interested in world music, and I can say that their world music programming is really excellent. I mean, if I were living in Philadelphia. Yeah, I knew what was playing at Savannah, I'd be eating my heart out.
True. So it's that good.
Yeah, it really is excellent, and so that's been a great relationship, and we tend to get a lot of Americana because of the space is I think is best suited for Americana. We can handle the amplification, but for something like for a string quartet, anything that is affected by the weather and particularly humidity it's unfair to ask a musician to play there. Yeah. I unfairly asked the Goliards, an early music group in Savannah, to play at the museum one year, and they're all playing replica instruments. Right. They're all stringed instruments.
Wow.
And they were tuning all the time. They were incredibly good about it. I mean, they've been back in a number of different kind of iterations. Yeah. But that really made it very clear to me that we had limitations out there, and that was in the Scarborough Garden a number of years ago. But what works.
Yeah.
And works well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then this year we added AuraFest, which is a one-day festival of basically hardcore music. I mean, there are so many subgenres that I know.
You don't know how to keep up with it.
Old head spin. But that worked really well too. It was a one-day festival. I went over there for a little while, and I think people really enjoyed it. It was very, very well run. Tim Wall, the organizer, is great guy, really well organized. His volunteers were excellent, and it was neat seeing hardcore in the garden. And I think and I think a lot of the people who were there probably for the first time got to see the garden. We kind of got on the radar of a different demographic. And it was cool, and it was very gratifying, I'll have to say, to see people walking around the garden who it was probably their first time there, and being just being impressed by the garden and the atmosphere there. It was a great atmosphere.
Good.
So we're very, very fortunate, very happy to have the opportunity to work with various festivals in Savannah, because we've had our own concert series over the years. Two issues that were I think the two most kind of salient issues for us are one, all ages shows, which all of these are. Yeah. There's a real need for that. And the other thing is that our own concert series, generally, we just tried to get local musicians, particularly musicians who might have, who are basically playing in. They're playing as background music, in a different venue, and offering them an opportunity to give a concert to people who are there to hear them.
Yeah, they ought to eat that up.
So it's a very it's a welcoming, but it's also a respectful atmosphere. So that's worked out well, and we've had a number of concerts. Classical guitarist Brian Luckett. We had a Savannah Theremin Summit. I think 3 years ago, we got local theremin players.
There are local theremin players.
There are local.
Wow.
I think there's got to be some local. Well, actually, I knew that Richard Leo Johnson played some theremin, and I also knew that Ricardo Ochoa, who's been...
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
Who's been at the museum in various iterations.
Sure.
He was there, and we also had Philip Neidlinger, who we'd had a couple of years before, who made his own theremin, tube theremin, and was playing, and Motherbug. Melissa, yeah. Oh, I forgot her last name. But she was there. So we had four theremin playing.
Amazing.
Simultaneously, which we had to try out because we weren't sure whether it was going to create some kind of etheric disturbance.
Where else in a city this size could you have four local theremin players? Yeah,
we had 1 year. That's right. We had a local names. I forget now. It's going way back. But we had a concert of a North Indian musician and a South Indian musician. So we had a North Indian musician who was a professor at SCAD playing tabla, the percussion instrument, and then a woman who played veena, which is a South Indian stringed instrument, playing together for a night of Indian music at the museum. It takes some digging. We had a hard time finding a local ukulele player, but we got him for.
I would think that'd be easier than a theremin.
That would be easy, but it's never easy.
Well, true enough. Okay. Tony, thank you so much. We got to cut it off here. We're about to go. I just want to say, remind everybody again, the dates on the festival, the stopover we're talking about is
March 9th, 10th, and 11th.
It's March 9th, 10th, and 11th. So next week, and going to be at different venues. Going to be some absolutely great acts. Check out the website. You'll get a chance to see some video and audio of all of the performers, many of which are going to be, in fact, at the Ships of the Sea Museum. And it's going to be a really, really great event, as it always is. So we're looking forward to that. Tony, I sure appreciate you coming.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Very much, and much success, much continued success. There's a lot of things going on. If you haven't checked out the Ship of the Sea Museum, you might consider that and the gardens just any old day, because it's really quite a fascinating and beautiful place. Okay, guys, we are going to be back with you next week with, and we'll be talking about the Savannah Music Festival. So again, this marvelous month of musical magnificence here in Savannah, Georgia. And, check back with us and listen in again next week. Y'all have a good one.
This is WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings,